In this exciting episode, we see David Ogden Stiers and William Catt for the last time. Let's see if Perry can send Michael Reston off with a loss, and if the writers will let Paul Drake Jr. walk away with a permanent gal pal. Call me an optimist. It's the made-for-TV Perry Mason movie, The Case of the Lady in the Lake. Welcome to the Perry Pod. I'm your humble host, Jonathan Searcy. My purpose here is pretty simple: provide an audio companion to the greatest legal drama in television history, Perry Mason. I plan to do a pod for every episode of the television series, and in episodes like this one, I'll take a look at some of those made-for-TV movies too. Each episode, I give a brief refresher of the plot, list some key pieces of trivia, and tackle the episode or movie's main theme. Then I feature a Perry proverb, a moment of wisdom from the man himself, and finish with a post-case water cooler where, just like Perry, Della, and Paul, we can rehash the ins and outs of their adventures. But first, to the law library. Each episode in the law library, we return to prior cases to refresh our memories about Perry's past so we can find fresh precedents for future cases. This episode in the law library, we investigate the dilemma of absent counsel. Perry helps an injured Paul Drake Jr. in the middle of an ongoing trial. Unfortunately, the ordeal leaves Perry far from court when the judge and prosecutor are ready for the trial to resume. Perry enters court late and gives this apology.
I beg the court's pardon for my tardiness, but hope to show why it couldn't be helped.
I'm sure we're all very curious to learn why it couldn't be helped, Mr. Mason.
So, what if defense counsel fails to show up at all? Perry thinks he's supposed to be there for the case of the conservative columnist on a Tuesday when the trial actually started on Monday, and he fails to show. What would happen then? Well, it's really the defendant who is on the hook, unfortunately. So Perry's client, who in this case is out on bail, must show up or risk being arrested again and fined with an additional bond. He's already forked over $300,000. Perry would probably get a stern talking to from the judge, but that's likely it. The client could ask the judge to issue a show cause to Perry if the client doubts that Perry was telling the truth about why he was absent. The client could also ask the Bar Association to take action against Perry for his late arrival. Of course, none of this happens. The client sticks with our man Perry. Michael Reston's disappearance after this movie makes me wonder if action wasn't taken against him. He was always on time, and look what good it did him. Now, let's get to the plot of the movie. The Case of the Lady in the Lake. Retired tennis pro Billy Travis and his wife, skiing maven Sarah Wingate Travis, are engaged in some do-it-yourself trauma therapy.
Don't make me force you.
I can't.
Honey, she's dead. She's dead. It's been over 15 years. You gotta let go of it.
When Sarah was little, her sister was kidnapped and killed in a boating accident. The whole thing left Sarah traumatized, but Billy loves her and wants her to move on. So he does what any normal husband would do: put her on a boat on the lake. Then, just like the try it at home therapy kit that Billy bought said, he sets the boat on a course to hit the shore and spectacularly crash if Sarah doesn't do anything, because Billy's just going to sit in the back of the boat and wait for Sarah to take action.
I know you can do it, babe. I know you can do it.
Well, score one for armchair psychiatrist Billy, but there are bigger problems afoot. One, Billy wants to shut down a family mine that employs Sarah's brother, Skip, and a man who proposed to Sarah 3 times, Doug Vickers. They're not happy about it.
You're not gonna let him do it, are you?
Do what?
Sell the mine. Skip said Billy had you talked into getting out of the business altogether.
You'll have to talk to Billy about that.
2, Billy runs a lodge, who recently hired as a waitress a woman he once had a fling with. Sarah's jealous.
Should I be jealous?
Lisa, that was a long, long time ago. You don't have to be jealous of anybody. Okay?
3, Billy has a brother who's in deep to the mob. Question, which of these bombs is going to go off first? Well, it's the waitress. Sarah sees the waitress Lisa kissing Billy on the lips. And to say she's distraught is engaging in understatement. Where does Sarah head? The lake, of course. Never a good idea. Billy gets a call about Sarah's whereabouts. This doesn't look good.
Hello?
You'll find Sarah in the lake.
What?
No body? No problem. Michael Reston's gonna try Billy for murdering his wife on a whim. Who's gonna come to his aid? Perry, Della, and Paul Jr., of course. The real fireworks begin when Paul tracks down waitress Lisa, who sees Paul and fires a gun at him while he's in his car, and his vehicle does a flippity flip. He's okay though, and he ends up cracking the case. Perry rightly guesses that Doug Vickers is somehow involved. Here comes the grill session.
Didn't Mr. Wingate see you with the kidnapper, James Maisley, on more than one occasion?
All right, I knew Maisley. He kept hounding me for a job at the mine, but that's as far as my relationship went with him.
A relationship you kept hidden by paying off Mr. Wingate.
You blame me? I needed the job. Tying me to Maisley would have meant my being fired. Or worse.
Then Paul Jr. burst through the courtroom doors with the biggest revelation of all. Sarah isn't dead?
You can't prove a word of this.
I think I can.
Sarah.
What about me, Vickers? You got me into this.
Sarah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for any
Yes,
of
you
the...
did. You wanted Sarah Travis dead.
Shut up!
You wanted me to kill her.
Has this ever happened on Perry? The supposed deceased person isn't even deceased, and there's not some other person who is dead who got misidentified? There's actually no murder in the movie. Well, Billy and Sarah are back together. Perry and Della are an indomitable team. As for Paul Drake Jr., the woman he's been making googly eyes at all movie happens to be the daughter of Della's friend. Say it ain't so.
Look who's here. Bye. Oh, it's been so long.
Paul, I'd like for you to meet my good friend, Vi Danslow.
Hello.
How do you do?
And this is her daughter, Melissa.
Can we have dinner tonight?
I'd love it.
I'll call you as soon as I get back from taking Melissa to the airport.
Airport?
Back to work in Boston.
Boston?
I'll call.
I'll call too.
Better run for your life, gal. Now, let's get trivial, shall we? Each episode in the Law Library, we return to prior cases to to refresh our memories about Perry's past so we can find fresh precedents for future cases. Each episode in our trivia section, I give you 3 takeaways. Paul is a subject worth investigating more. Adela is something about a particular character in the story. And a Perry is something we learn about our main character. Our Paul prompt for this episode concerns the relationship between rotator cuffs and professional tennis. Here's how Billy explains his injury.
You miss it?
You know, sometimes I play old matches over and over again in my head when I'm sleeping. Guess it'll always be a part of me.
Have you given up playing?
Had to. 2 operations on the shoulder. It was worse than when I first wrecked it.
I'm sorry to hear that. Della said you were looking for me.
Mr. Mason, I got a call from Frank this morning.
Well, did he say where he was?
No, he wouldn't tell me. All I could get from him was that some leg breaker from Las Vegas almost caught up with him last night. This guy must have scared Frank pretty bad. He said he was going to get lost for a little while.
Did Frank ever spend any time with Lisa Blake?
Frank and Lisa? Why? What are you thinking?
Well, she seems to have left town just about the time Frank dropped out of sight. How long has Frank known Lisa?
We both met Lisa in Acapulco when I was there for a tournament. It was 5 or 6 years ago. She'd show up around the circuit every now and then after that. But I always figured it was me she came to see, not Frank.
All right, what about you and Lisa?
Wait a minute, Mr. Mason. I gave up Lisa and that whole world when I met Sarah. As far as I was concerned, Sarah and I were going to be married forever. I got to get going.
Billy. Thank you.
Well, hello.
Oh, hi, Paul.
Where are you off to?
A quick lunch with Vi and her daughter, and then back to the court
Oh,
library.
Della, big mistake. You probably don't really want to see her, and she probably doesn't want to see you.
Paul, that's ridiculous. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, here's a receipt for some car repairs I wound up with after last night.
What repairs?
Oh, hi, Perry. Just, it's a little bill for 4 tires.
4 tires?
And a bumper. Perry, you're not going to believe this, but I caught up with Frank Travis last night.
But
I had a little accident and he got away. But I almost had him.
I thought some leg breaker from Las Vegas almost had him.
How'd you hear about that?
Forget how I heard about that. Right now, it's more important that you find Elisa Blake. She was a bartender here at the lodge.
How long has she been gone?
She called in Tuesday morning about 11 with a lie about having to leave town.
I'll be in touch.
Della, I'd like you to run a check on Lisa Blake. See what you can find out about her.
Well, if it's all right, could I do it right after lunch?
Sure.
Question. This sounds plausible, but have there been any prominent tennis stars whose careers have been cut short by rotator cuff surgery? That's our Paul prompt. Let me know what you find. Our Della for this episode is none other than David the Hoff, Hasselhoff himself, Billy Travis.
So they weren't nice. They weren't nice. I'm a has-been. I'm an official tennis bum. My groupie days are long gone.
10 facts about our man Dave. Number 1, born in Maryland in 1952. He'll turn 70 this summer. Number 2, caught the acting bug at age 7 when he appeared in a production of Peter Pan. Number 3, graduated from a Chicago Burb high school LaGrange, then got his college degree from the California Institute of the Arts. Number 4, his first big break, 7 years as Dr. Foster on The Young and the Restless. Break number 2, Knight Rider from 1982 to 1986 on NBC, where our man Dave routinely talked to his car. Hoff has continued to return to the Knight Rider series, offering its legions of fans Knight Rider 2000 and Knight Rider 2008. Number 5, 1988's The Case of the Lady in the Lake caught the Hoff in a key transitional moment. The next year, he would star for 1 season on NBC's Baywatch. The show was canceled, but Hoff thought he had the ingredients of a winning show. He bought the rights from NBC, and in 1991 got the show into the first-run syndication market. It was a cultural phenomenon running through 2001 and earning Hoff some serious coin. Number 6, also in 1988, Hoff released his biggest music single. That's right, The Guy Can Sing. Apparently, he broke his musical talent in on the Merv Griffin Show in 1975, where he sang the theme song to The Young and the Restless. That title, Nadia's theme for you Y&R heads out there. Anywho, Hoff released a single called Looking for Freedom for an album of the same name that came out in 1989. Well, the song was written by a German music producer, tapped into the nascent Berlin Wall energy of the late 80s. It was a massive hit all across Europe and connected Hoff to Germany. Dirk Nowitzki, Hall of Fame NBA player for the Dallas Mavericks, confessed that he hummed the tune before he shot his free throws. Number 7, Hoff was a judge for 4 seasons on America's Got Talent before he got replaced with Howie Mandel, and for 1 season on Britain's Got Talent. Number 8, in 2008, Hoff tried to start a social media site called HoffSpace. Need I say, the site no longer exists. Number 9, in 2010, our man tried to go the reality TV route and help his daughters kickstart their careers. A&E's ill-fated The Hasselhoffs lasted only 2 episodes before it was yanked with a gigantic cane off the stage. Number 10, the Hoff has been married 3 times. The second of those wives was his former Knight Rider co-star Pamela Bach, the woman who's the mother of Hoff's 2 daughters. His current wife is about 30 years younger than he is. Our Perry for this episode involves Walter, played by B actor John Ireland. And the reason Perry gets to be Billy Travis's attorney in the first place. Walter is Travis's attorney, but he's feeling mortal as a result of heart surgery. Here's Perry's comment.
Oh, you're mortal, all right. That disposition of yours hasn't gotten any better since the day I got out of law school and you gave me my first job.
No matter Walter's disposition, Perry gladly takes Billy's case when his first boss gives him a chance. Our theme for the movie, Marriage Redeemed. The writer, Shel Willens, was not a typical Perry writer. His credits include Police Story episodes, The Rockford Files episodes, and The Great American Hero episodes. You know, the television vehicle of William Catt. Well, apparently, Shel got some of the notes from the Perry franchise. He made Paul Drake Jr. a man looking for love. He had Perry and Della exchange little one-liners like this.
Well, I guess that just leaves us.
What would be nice?
Oh, I almost forgot. The ski lodge will be open in a couple months. You're invited.
Ah, skiing.
Oh, no. Perry's given up skiing.
And of course, he made the DA seem overconfident and ripe for a courtroom fall.
I've seen the evidence, Mr. Mason. You've drawn a losing card, I think.
But in other respects, Shell rode against the grain. We've already mentioned this movie's odd detail. No one gets murdered in the episode. All that gets uncovered about the previous accidental death was who was really behind it. Even stranger, the marriage between Billy and Sarah works out. Billy really does love Sarah. He's not simply scheming to get her cash or privately working against her to make her flip out again. He wants her to recover. Typical Perry. Man has trouble with his wife. Gets arrested for murder. He gets exonerated, but must deal with his wife's shadiness and or grisly death. In a Shel Willens Perry, we get a man who helps his wife, gets arrested when his wife disappears, is gleefully reunited with his wife when it turns out she wasn't dead, and of course, he wasn't guilty for murdering her. Maybe William Catt and David Ogden Stiers flew the coop because they figured this movie had to be the end of the line. A Perry with a redemptive marriage? This series is over. Now, let's get to a Perry proverb. I'm always down for an extended metaphor. Next time you find yourself on the receiving end of a card game figure of speech from the likes of DA Michael Reston, just remind yourself of Perry's words.
I've seen the evidence, Mr. Mason. You've drawn a losing card, I think. Game's not over yet, counsel. Not yet.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Perry. You've always got an ace in the hole when Perry's your attorney. Read 'em and weep, DA Reston. Now, let's grab a swig from the water cooler.
There is one thing I don't understand. Go on, Paul.
Each episode in the water cooler, we give you deleted scenes where we imagine the scenes that didn't make the movie's final cut. Number 1, Billy takes Sarah on a cruise on their honeymoon and discovers her problem with boats. Number 2, Billy plays tennis against Skip and wipes the court with him, even with his damaged arm. Even better if he would have played left-handed, I guess. Number 3, a montage of the failed Doug Vickers proposals, each one more pathetic than the last. Number 4, Perry actually skiing. We've heard that he went skiing, he got injured, he's got this cane. Show us some high-speed slalom action from our man. Number 5, a flashback to Perry interacting with Walter as a fresh-faced law school grad. That's something we could do now with CGI. Number 6, Paul burning every bridge between Della and her friend when he takes the friend's daughter to McDonald's on a first date and then makes her pay. Number 7, an epilogue where we find out what DA Michael Reston is doing 1 year after this latest loss. Minding an Ace Hardware somewhere in southern Illinois. Our Paul prompt last time had to do with the medicine meclizine. Aunt Myra was on the case. She discovered that meclizine is an antihistamine used to prevent and treat nausea, vomiting, and dizziness caused by motion sickness. She asks, wasn't there an earlier Perry episode that dealt with motion sickness and dizziness? I can't remember another Perry episode that features motion sickness, but if you know what it is, send it in. We also got a delightful note from Nancy, our trivia maven, who reports on Patty Duke, who was our Della from our last episode, that DNA testing in 1990 revealed that Sean Astin's biological father was Duke's previous husband, not John Astin. That's an incredible find. Thank you so much for sending that in. As always, I'd love feedback about this particular episode or the podcast in general. Was there something about the episode you'd like to comment on or something you'd like to correct? You can email me at theperrypod@gmail.com. All of our episodes are available via Spotify, YouTube, and iTunes. Well, we made it. The semester is over, and next week I will start turning out a weekly Perry Pod as I work through season 3. Get those podcast feeds ready. The Case of the Spurious Sister is first up, and Perry fan Tim Cree has already sent in a hilarious deleted scene suggestion for this one. It's going to be fun. Join us, won't you? Until then, this is Jonathan Searcy saying, keep on walking, that Park Avenue beat!